Thanks, Aicha. I am very excited to be here today along with Antony Jinman, the polar adventurer. I recently met with him and it has been a pleasure. We are also working on a project together right now, and it's a privilege for me to host him here, and I'm looking forward to the questions and the discussions that we will be making with him. A little bit about me. I am Cihan, one of the co-founders of Twin Science and Robotics, and I'm responsible from content development. And in last year, we have been designing our app, and one of the first experts in their field was Antony that we got in contact with. And he was kind enough to accept our invitation and come to YGA Summit. One of the contexts of YGA Summit is the new success is impact. And today we will explore that with Antony. Antony, welcome. Thank you for being in here. I know you are a little bit busy, not a little bit, but packed, right? You are preparing yourself to the next expedition.
That's right. In literally 4 days' time, yeah, kind of heading back down to Antarctica. So everything is a bit frantic at the moment, especially with everything that's happening with, of course, the pandemic and hopefully emerging out of COVID. But the travel challenges that poses is having a bit of an impact last minute. So we're busy finalising our training, getting all of our kit packed up and ready to fly out. So yeah, 4 days left.
I wish the best for you and your team. Geographic South Pole, geographic North Pole. You are the 12th Brit, I think, to visit, to explore both of the poles, right?
That's right. Yeah, I was fortunate enough that in 2010 skied from Canada across the Arctic Ocean to the geographic North Pole, and then in 2013-14 I skied solo to the geographic South Pole along a route called Hercules Inlet. So yeah, becoming the 12th Briton to have done North and solo South Pole. Yeah,
it's so exciting to hear that. And now you are getting ready to move to Antarctica. Like we met recently, but I am inspired by your passion. Like, you are a man of passion. Great passion. I can literally say that. And you obviously love what you do, exploring our planet, discovering new places. But also you are doing an impactful work in education through expeditions with Like to Be organization. Can you tell us a bit about the work that you do in general?
Yeah, so for many years, I've always had a passion for travel and for working within the tourism, I suppose, the tourism industry. I was first a tour leader, and then I went on to become an expedition leader. And suddenly the world really became interesting to me. Now, I really struggled in school to learn from textbooks and to sit exams, and I never went to university. And it wasn't until I was about 21 I actually found out that I'm dyslexic, and that was completely missed in my secondary education. But when I started to travel, then I developed an appetite for, a hunger to learn as much as possible from my travels and my adventures, and being on an expedition. Those experiences are 10 times, 100 times more relevant to you and powerful, because you get to go to a part of the world that very few people go to. And for me, the legacy of every expedition, everything that you learn on an expedition or through travel, that has an impact on you, not just your knowledge about the world around you, but who you are. And so being able to go into schools and universities and colleges and being able to retell my stories and what I've learned gives legacy. It gives purpose to my adventures. And so setting up my not-for-profit Education for Expeditions was a mechanism to enable me to scale the impact, especially the social impact and the legacy of each project. So being able to visit more schools and connect with more young people to share my story, and that develops then into Like to Be, which is a digital outreach mechanism to, and the pandemic has shown us that actually using digital, then the audience can be global, not just a local audience that you might be spending time going into a classroom and to have that connectivity, but you can have a global audience through digital outreach. So that's predominantly what my work has all been about. It's about connecting my expeditions to classrooms, whether that's in person or online. Yeah.
Wow. It's pretty inspiring. Like, you are not only discovering, like, it is your true passion to discover, to explore the world, but it is not enough. You said, like, it makes a change in you, but you go to schools and retell those discoveries, those learnings to students, and it creates impact. And you also mentioned about scaling impact. Like, what would be the best way to scale this impact, or from your experiences, what were the like best practices?
Or best practices. I mean, so Education for Expeditions, that's a question that I've been asking myself for many years. Like, what's the best practice? How can we scale this, which is cost effective, and can have maximum outreach? So Education for Expeditions focuses on taking predominantly undergraduate students, university students, who have a passion or an interest in polar research. Could be environmental science, for instance, but also they could be from an education background as well, or interested in going into teaching. So I would typically train a team of undergraduates to go out to the Arctic and give them an opportunity to develop a fieldwork expedition and to put their area of expertise into practice, which develops a CV enriching kind of opportunity for them. But then to also train them in science communication, so that the fieldwork project is interactive for schools. They're also creating lots of really rich video content and photographic content, so they're documenting the experience. And then when we come back into the UK, then they can use that content to create their own story, to then go into schools and to retell that story, and to run our science workshops as well. So that's one mechanism how we've been looking at developing our own best practice, to train ambassadors to go into school by capturing their own experience, their own story, and getting in front of as many students as possible. And the same principle is applied then to digital outreach. So it's all about content, right? Whether that's watching Netflix or YouTube, or in the classroom, and looking for video content that's relevant to the subject that you're learning in. I think the richer the content, the more powerful, the more intriguing, the more inspiring it is. So if I can go to a part of the world and film penguins, or glaciers, and and even better, interview a scientist next to a glacier, talking about climate change, then it's about making the subject real. And I think that's where, like, certainly the work that we're doing with polar expeditions can help make topics like climate change real and relevant in the classroom, and we can connect experts and people with the knowledge into that classroom environment online. So digital outreach is as important as face-to-face outreach, and the two can complement one one another really, really well. So I think like best practice moving forward out of the pandemic is to combine both digital outreach and face-to-face outreach so that you can have, you know, maximum impact, because learners learn differently as well. You know, not everyone will, you know, sit in front of a video, for instance, for half an hour. You know, they might actually, but they might respond to more, you know, a more Q&A face-to-face based learning experience as well. So combining the two, I think, is a really good way forward. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite is always asking questions as well. So like in Twin mobile app, actually, we will have content related with climate change and sustainability, and you will be exploring the polar, the Antarctica, and you will be sending actually discoveries directly to Twin app, and those will be communicated with digital outreach with kids. And it is, I think it's a very strong model. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about it, but I'm very curious about your high school, university years. I mean,
Yeah.
it is very nice that you are being a role model for university and college students today, even for elementary students today. But how was it for you? And it might be a personal one as well, but I've seen a video of you where you mentioned how this wasn't always the case. Like you didn't always have the dream partners, let's say, and like you were feeling like an outcast maybe, or sometimes lonely. So how was it for you, like having an interest area?
Yeah.
Such an interest area. Yeah, please go on.
Yeah. So here in the UK, I mean, like formal like state education is, you know, everyone learns differently, and yes, there has to be a, you know, a structured, I suppose, curriculum, you know, to help, you know, give a base layer of education. But you know, for me, it was terrible, right? So when I was in primary education, I learned about a local hero to the city where I grew up. It's a guy called Captain Robert Falcon Scott, who was another Antarctic explorer, and he famously attempted to go to the geographic South Pole and discover what was at the bottom of our planet, only to have got there and discovered that a Norwegian exploring team had already made it to the South Pole. And unfortunately, tragically, Captain Scott and his team perished on the return journey. But at age 8, I was just fascinated by watching, like seeing these black and white photographs and this film footage of, you know, of penguins and icebergs, and thinking, wow, that's totally different to what's on my own doorstep. So I had a bit of a fascination about penguins in Antarctica when I was certainly in my early teens. And then when I went into secondary education, having to stand up and read from a textbook in front of my classmates, I didn't get on well with that at all, and I developed a bit of a paranoia about public speaking. And it wasn't until until I was 21 that I realized that actually I'm dyslexic. So reading from a textbook was incredibly challenging, and having your classmates, I suppose, laughing at you and stumble, as you stumble over words was not a pleasant experience. I didn't do well at my exams. I never went to university. I recognized that I'd never be a polar scientist going down to Antarctica. So I went into I first went into the Royal Navy because that's what the computer printout told me that I should do. So that was the career guidance that I had at school, was basically answering about 100 questions and getting matched up to careers that I might be best suited in. So I went along to sea, spent the best part of 18 months training in the Navy, but unfortunately naval life wasn't for me, and I got a medical discharge as being unfit for naval life. So I was suffering from depression. I really felt lost in my early 20s. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. There was a lot of pressure from my family and from society in general that I had to pick a career. So I left for the Navy, not really knowing what, next steps. I knew that I wanted to hopefully go down to Antarctica one day, and so I found out about adventure tourism, and that was a changing point in my life, really. And then that led on to expeditioning, that finally got me down to Antarctica, and I've been fortunate enough now that I've been going down to Antarctica for the past 8 years now. So I love it. But to answer your question directly, the school, the school environment for me, that classroom environment, didn't work. And granted, that was a long time ago now, and things have changed. But no, it wasn't a pleasant experience, to be honest. No.
Wow. Thanks, Antony. Like, it was a really nice story. And sometimes when we announced the work that we do, people do not see background info of that story, right? So, and I am in a very different way. Like, I am in education sector as you, but I am not working on the snow. Like, I am not putting my life in danger, actually, right? While you are doing that, and you have the joy of it, you have the joy of that discovery, you are linking it to something very impactful, to education. And along the way, even though you feel the depression, you somehow find the motivation to get on your foot and continue taking steps. So I think this impact explanation is, I like this explanation better. Like, one of the themes of the YGA summit was about this: new success is impact now. And this might sound abstract, but you made it easy to understand. Like, if we are going to define the success as making profit, or I don't know, like, if we put this making profit idea on the basement of our decision-making matrices, like, the impact will be same. Last 150 years, whatever the impact was, the impact will not change, because we are not changing the perspective. I think Einstein quotes, "We can solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them." And sustainability was not a keyword, and impact was not a keyword in last 150 years. And we have problems like climate change, sustainability today. And if we want to change this, we need to change our thinking perspective and putting impact on the basement of our success criteria, let's say. And in Antarctica, I think you will be exploring the effect of using plastics, right? So what will be the theme of your expedition?
Yes, that's right. So this next expedition going down is doing a number of climate change pieces of research. One of which is looking at the level of pollution of microplastic contamination is having in the snow of Antarctica. So it's this is a really interesting piece of research. It's being conducted at Plymouth University. So our team are literally just going out and collecting snow samples to bring back to the laboratories, where the researchers will then confirm, or hopefully not confirm, the presence of microplastic pollution and contamination in that snow. So that's the one of the aims of this next project, and it is an area that I'm really interested in, because this could potentially be very, very groundbreaking. The fact that microplastics may be in the atmosphere and traveling down to Antarctica in prevailing winds, and going into this really pristine white environment that is largely untouched by us, that was only discovered around 200 years ago, or just over 200 years ago. So yeah, this next piece of research for me is really interesting to see what is the scale of our impact on our planet.
Well, thank you for the explanation as well. And like sustainability is a very hot keyword nowadays, and like everyone started using it more. But like once it is being used more and more, it loses its meaning in the society. Like how do you define sustainability? Or like how a company or a person can be more sustainable company? How do you define this?
Oh, that is a fantastic question, and one we could spend many hours kind of diving into. I think, you know, we're in this for the long run when it comes to the climate change problem and the climate change crisis. I don't believe that we can solve this problem overnight within the next couple of years. I think there needs to be an entire transition and change in our society, as you were saying, especially around that kind of, you know, the social impact, not just a profit mechanism, you know, for businesses to follow that traditional for-profit kind of business structure, because we need to change kind of like, yes, how we can live sustainably, and that comes at multiple levels, like whether that's at home, you know, managing to do your recycling or eating locally sourced, you know, produce, to how we not just travel to work, but how we do business as well, and making sure that we can try and reduce, you know, the carbon footprint of our own personal lives, but also our working lives as well. And I think innovation is a big leader in all sectors of business and industry, whether that's financial or whether that's agricultural or whether it's you know, of course, like the industries and primary resource gathering, for instance. So yeah, that innovation is going to take time as well to, you know, to have a cascading effect into all aspects of our lives. Yeah.
Like the partnership that we have started, actually, we have Twin as a safe and moderated gamified learning platform for kids, and we encourage them to explore their true passion, like you. And you will be on the snow, discovering new things and sharing this knowledge with kids. And we also have Virofax, a company that uses blockchain as a technology for good example, maybe, and help individuals about their decisions and how their decisions are important to tackle climate change. We have Wasim, the CEO of Virofax. Let's listen in and what he says about this partnership.
Hello, my name is Wasim Merbi and I'm the CEO and co-founder for Verifax Limited. At Verifax, we develop solutions that help with the auditability of sustainable credentials for product. We empower consumers as well as retailers to check and validate their product before purchasing, to validate the credentials and being able to interact with the product and promote greener choices to other consumers. We believe that this is a long journey, and this journey will only be empowered by education. And this is why we're quite honored to be partnering with Antony, Jinman, as well as Twin Science in order to promote sustainable choice and lifestyle to the youth as well as older consumers through the youth. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Looking forward to meeting you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Wasim, for the support. And Antony, before we wrap up this session, can you please maybe share some highlights about your previous expeditions and journey, and which skills were required? I mean, it's a life and death experience as well, right? You are walking in the snow, very low temperatures, and one mistake can result many things. So please.
Yeah, I guess I guess if we look at the, this next project coming up, it's a mountainous, expedition. So we're traveling into, an area that has a high crevasse risk to the expedition. And what I mean by crevasses is these are cracks that could be hidden by snow in the glacier. And of course, the biggest risk is falling into a crevasse. So I'd say, how do we prevent that? Well, we have to train hard. Yeah, we have to practice our mountaineering skills in order to know what to do to not just prevention, but if something did happen, then we can rescue as well. So I guess with expeditioning and this next project, yes, they can be perceived as risky, but it's about reducing the risk. Yeah. So, and I think in life, you have to train, we have to learn, we have to, study and learn new skills for whatever job and whatever career we wish to pursue. And it's the same in the adventure world. So you just have to practice. In terms of skills, but even when you practice, there are things that are outside of your control. So having skills like problem solving, good communication, teamwork, so that when life doesn't go according to plan, like the pandemic, right, then we can adapt. And I think like expeditioning for me teaches me many personal skills that are transferable into my personal life as well as my working life as well. So I'd like to think that I'm, a lot more adaptable, that I can understand different people's perspectives better than what I used to be able to do. And I can think about how to solve a problem from other people's perspectives as well. So yeah, expeditioning teaches many soft skills that are transferable into personal life and working life. And that's just a couple of examples, I guess, in this next expedition. And I've already alluded to, of course, like the pandemic, COVID at the moment, just the logistics of getting to Antarctica, are constantly changing. Yeah. And so we're having to adapt on sometimes an hourly basis, like this, the past weekend, to ensure that the team, can go out to the Alps and train and to come back safely. It's always a challenge. Life is a challenge sometimes, but it's our ability to be able to think outside of the box and overcome those challenges and whatever life throws at us. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Antony. Like, it was such an inspirational speech for me. We have a YGA dream partner, Professor Mehmet Toner, and he made a speech at last year's YGA summit and mentioned that some students, young people, come and says, "My dream is to become a scientist like you. My dream is to become a scientist and win a Nobel Prize." So. And then Mehmet Toner's reply to them was, if you involve yourself being something in your dream, it is not about a dream. It is about ego of the point. Like, you have a target for yourself. It is not a dream. And with all the things that you have mentioned, I realized that you have a dream about a culture, about a society, and you are working for that dream, meaning that your dream is kind of beyond yourself or something. I felt that. And I am your dream partner as well. So thanks for coming to this YGA summit and sharing your personal stories. I wish you have a safe and impactful expedition to Antarctica, and we will be waiting for all the discoveries in Twin Up. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me along. Yeah.